Hello and welcome to the Truax 2018 official YouTube channel. Here we have Todd Truax, who's running for the U.S. House of Representatives, District 19. Hi, Mr. Truax. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Todd Truax. I'm a nursing home administrator and a social worker. Been in Florida for 20 years now. I'm running for a U.S. House of Representatives because I believe the current administration is practicing medicine without a license. I've been a healthcare administrator for 20 years from Ohio originally and then down in Florida. And I'm concerned about the safety and welfare of the grandparents and retirees that come down here to Florida with their Medicare and Medicaid at risk. That's why I'm running.
Why did you want to create this channel in the first place? What's your purpose in having this?
I think I also want to be able to reach out to a younger audience. I know the demographics call for, I need to enlist everybody from every group to win this race. It's a very red congressional district with a lot of retirees, but I want to reach out to the students as well and address any issues that the students have. So that's why we're doing the YouTube channel.
So what would you say are the top 3 issues here in Southwest Florida that you want to resolve?
Well, first, healthcare, because that's my specialty. I think the Affordable Care Act has been under attack, and that threatens students nationwide, not just in the district. My children are 21 and 22 years of age, and they're covered by the Affordable Care Act. And my son is accident prone, and he goes fishing barefoot and cuts his feet on oyster beds. And he needs emergency treatment, and he couldn't afford that insurance or cover those stitches without the insurance that my wife and I pay for. It doesn't cost any taxpayers, but that benefit is being threatened. Also, I know a lot of folks that are working folks that need to buy insurance, and to have the rates tampered with and the incentives cut threatens a lot of folks with health insurance. And I think 13 million people are looking to be dropped off of health care without the mandate. Environment is number one. When I came down here 20 years ago, I bought a canoe. And I've been up and down the Gordon River, the Imperial River. We won the Imperial River Challenge, my son and I. We've done coastal cleanup. I pulled shopping carts out of the rivers. I pulled bicycles out of the rivers. I think the beaches used to be much cleaner when I first came here. So I've learned a lot about the environment, and that's another big issue down here. My being a social worker running against a billionaire, the third issue is campaign finance. I think the Citizens United needs to be overturned. I think there's too much dark money and PAC money involved in politics right now, and I'd like to level the playing field so it's more representative.
Does that factor into the ruby red district and how hard it is to run as a Democrat here?
Yeah, that is exactly what it is all about. They see this as a safe district, and Democrats have been shying away from donating or being participant in the district because they see it as a futile effort. They see it as a safe district for Republicans, and I think the blue wave is going to make that turn around real quick at the end of the year.
So here in Southwest Florida, in the last election, we had around a 14% voter rate. Why is that?
I know, it's embarrassing. In all my life, I've been the enemy of apathy, and I want to motivate folks to participate and vote and find any way I can to get energize folks. And so I've canvassed. I've done debate parties at my house. I've gone door to door canvassing and registering voters. I came to FGCU for when the freshman class got their new addresses so they could register to vote. The guy off camera is registering to vote online now because they made it available on October 1st to register to vote. I think everybody needs to participate, otherwise there's really no point in complaining. If you're not part of the solution, you're just going to be a victim of the problems.
How else do you propose that we can make voting more efficient and easier on the public?
The online voter registration is one key part. There's quite a few restrictions about the forms, so you can't collect the forms. You can pass them out and encourage folks to turn them in. I think that helps, and registering people to vote when they get their driver's license at 17 or 18 so that they can automatically be in the system instead of making it a separate step. We already do that with jury duty. You automatically sign up for jury duty as soon as you get your driver's license.
More of a current event question. So, what are your thoughts on the recent government shutdown? Can you explain why the government shut down for the people who don't know?
The government shutdown, despite the fact that the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the executive office is locked up, the 60-40 rule in the Senate held up. It was able to give the Democrats some leeway in holding back the backward steps that the Republican administration is doing. With the repealing of the DACA, I think that was a strong argument that we were trying to keep folks from neglecting the TPS and the DACA folks who are threatened with deportation when they came here as children. And so that was what held up the government and it caused the shutdown. Also, the other issue was the CHIP program, the Child Health Insurance Program, which has covered poor and needy children for health insurance, and was being held up as a bargaining chip by the Republican administration.
What are your 2 cents on gerrymandering?
Gerrymandering, it's gotten so far out of hand. I think Pennsylvania has just been handed a mandate from the Supreme Court there that they have to readjust their districts. Gerrymandering has gotten so bad that the districts don't make any sense. They don't represent the way people live. And I think the most fair way is just to overlay like a plaid pattern over the maps and just say, you know, you're either in the square or you're outside the square, and stop having all these different districts that either cover a large part of the Everglades and alligators, or just a very heavy concentration in one area or the other without just being fair. And so, yeah, gerrymandering has really gotten out of hand.
Can you tell us a bit more about your opponents?
Let's see, my Republican opponent is Francis Rooney. He's a billionaire developer. He's got millions and millions in government contracts. He's built 2 Bush libraries. He kind of drifted into Naples on his family yacht and decided to pick a couple lots in Port Royal for his house. I don't think he represents me. My one single little house in Bonita Springs. He's got another home. He grew up in Georgetown, another home in Omaha, and he's building a bigger house in Omaha, in Georgetown, in the D.C. area. It's the oligarchy that's ruling right now, and that's my main opponent. There's another Democrat that's running, David Holden. He's been in town for a couple of years. He works for Wells Fargo as a financial analyst. And I think there's a third person. I bumped into him a couple times, but I don't think he's filed yet all the paperwork to run as a candidate, as a Democrat.
Do you feel like the government is overspending?
Well, if we have a $20 trillion deficit, yes. We've spent money that you haven't even earned yet, and your forebears or your children or grandchildren after that. I know historically Democrats have always run a tighter ship. They always call it Democrats the tax and spend folks, but I see the Republican Party as untaxing, and they're giving away the revenue, but then they're putting everything on the charge. So the deficit has just gone so berserk, and we're spending more and more on defense and the armament of our country when we're far surpassing everybody else in the world. I know the silver tsunami of seniors are going to need that Medicare and Medicaid to help cover their services, or they're going to be moving in with their grandkids, or their grandkids are going to be moving in with grandparents. So instead of studying engineering or any other specialty, they're going to be caregivers for their grandparents if we don't put that safety net back in place.
Many Americans are fed up with the constant politics and fighting between the 2 parties. Some feel the voting doesn't matter. They feel disillusioned and disconnected. What are your 2 cents on the conflict between parties? Furthermore, do you believe that parties are representing their interests or the interests of the American people?
From what I've seen, it looks like they're representing their own interests. It's a money-making machine. When I'm elected as a representative, my first job is to be a representative of the people of the district. But the other job that nobody ever talks about is your money-making machine for the Democrat or Republican Party. I went up to D.C. in October, and on Ivy Street there's a Republican congressional caucus where they go and make all their phone calls for their donors, and then just further down the street there's the Democratic congressional caucus where they go make all their calls to the donors, because they can't do it from their political office further up the hill. This whole money-making machine about how much can you bring to the party justifies where folks sit in their office or what committees they're on. I think that's just gotten so far out of hand that we really need to put some more controls on that spending through fixing the Citizens United decision. That was an outcome from the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court interprets the laws, and with the representative legislation, that's where the law can be rewritten.
What are your thoughts on the current administration?
I'm embarrassed every time the White House speaks. Lies seem to be the constant thread. Truth seems wishy-washy. Nobody knows what truth and honesty is anymore. My last name is Truax, and so I try to say just the facts with Truax. I like to say it like it is, cut to the chase, and not obfuscate and bamboozle folks with fake news and false alternative facts. It's just it's crazy, and it's disconnected, and it's laughable, but also brings you to tears and causes you to scream at the TV.
Do you feel like that's almost the fault of the media, or is it?
The media just reports what the folks are saying. Now there is slanted media from either side that is more entertaining and more focused on divisiveness. Back in the day when somebody was giving an editorial, it said editorial underneath their picture, so you knew that they were giving their opinion. And now it's just the whole station, the whole network is the editorial, and you just have to filter your facts and check your sources.
You mentioned divisiveness. How divisive is our country right now? Is it really 50-50 people go on both sides, or is there common ground?
I like to believe that there's common ground, and that's why I was an independent for so long. I never really wanted to be caught on each poll, either poll of the Republicans versus the Democrats. I was an independent for 30 years, and I always made my own decisions. I didn't just vote by the party. I voted by who I thought was the smartest candidate, or the candidate that supported the issues that I supported. And that polarization can be divisive for the country. And you're never going to have 100% all the time of everybody agreeing, and that dialogue, that yin and yang, keeps a balance. But yeah, I think folks are a little bit too much stuck in their silos, and they're not communicating with each other because you're red and I'm blue, or you're green and you're libertarian, or whatever kind of other parties there are. So I like to focus on the gray. There's that middle ground where folks can agree and meet and discuss and learn, rather than trying to focus on winning an argument.
Bonita Springs High School has been in the making for a long time. NBC News reports that the original budget to build the school was $50 million in 2015. As of August 22nd, 2017, it hiked up to $70 million. The cost of construction continues to increase. Superintendent of Lee County Schools, of the Lee County School Board, Britt Atkins, says that the decade-old process in Lee County for estimating the cost for building schools needs to be updated. What are some of the ways you believe this process could be updated to be more accurate and cost-efficient? Furthermore, what are some other examples in our current government that need to be updated where they are now?
Thanks for asking about the high school. That's in my backyard, and I've been watching it closely. I saw it was $15 million, and then they found some asbestos on the site, so they had to do some mitigation to make sure it was a safe site so students wouldn't be breathing in asbestos. There were some other issues that they wanted to clean up from the site. And I know they've scaled back the building a couple times because they had plans for a bigger building and more students on campus. The costs of construction have gone up because there's been so much more construction going on. I know, and labor shortages seem to be an issue as well in Southwest Florida. With so much building and new developments going on, it's harder to find the labor to cover that need for building. So that adds to the cost of the construction, as well as all the different additions to the building that were unforeseeable after the traffic was reconfigured. And my neighborhood is right next door to that, and there were some neighbors that had some issues that they wanted trees planted and different things to cut back on the noise from the marching band practices and things like that. Yeah, cost overruns can get out of hand, and going from 15 to 70 million, that is
50.
50
to 70, yeah.
70. That's a giant leap, and they may have to cut back, because if the school doesn't have the money to spend, then they'll have to put off the football field, or they'll put off the tennis courts, or whatever else they want to add on to the school. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Lee and Charlotte County have recently agreed to hold people suspected to being here illegally in custody for up to 48 hours so that ICE can detain them. Families of illegal immigrants in their household are fearful that their families could be torn apart. ICE argues that the deal is meant to keep criminals off the street. What are your thoughts on the matter?
I think that the state and local sheriff's office and police should focus on the crimes and in the area, and follow the rule of law and as it relates to that. The federal crime of being here illegally, it's more of a burden than the states and local authorities can handle. Even for keeping criminals for an extra 48 hours, just so that ICE can come in, it adds an extra burden that's not covered by the taxpayers' funding already for the sheriff and local authorities. I think that if they wanted to track folks down and that they'll find the addresses and track them down either at their place of business where they work or their homes. But for keeping people for minor traffic violations or jaywalking for an extra 48 hours, that violates the crime doesn't fit the punishment. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. I've got family that my aunt Shirley married a guy named Pablo back from Mexico, and he had family and they came across the border as children. And so I personally feel that the DACA dreamers should be taken care of and allowed to stay in the country. They're contributing to the country. And I saw on the news today that there's a physician who's going to be deported because he had a charge or two in the past. He's still a contributing member to society, and we're going to throw him out even though he's got a whole family here and he's been established for many, many years. I think we need to get that straight and quit kicking it down the street.
All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be having another video next week. Hopefully you'll be able to post in the comments, ask some questions you want to have to Todd himself. They can be personal questions, local questions, or national questions. Whatever they are, we want to get people involved.
If you want to visit my site, it's www.todd-james-truax.ruckus, because I'm causing a ruckus up in DC, and that's where I'm headed. You can send me an email through the website, and I need help getting petitions. I need 4,802 petitions to get on the ballot. Otherwise, it's $10,000. But I need the handwritten petitions, so if you could request the petitions to be emailed to you, I'll send them off to you. If you mail them back completed, then I can get on the ballot by May 21st. Thanks.
All right, thank you.